Welcome to Empowered Life Hacks, where we share with you an explosion of tips to help you overcome your daily struggles. Pay attention for the audio and visual cues, and this will let you know when an actionable idea is right on its way. Hey everybody, welcome to Empowered Life Hacks. Our goal here at Empowered Life Hacks, as our first episode, I just want to give you a quick introduction. We realize there's a lot of content out there and it's not always easily digestible and give you clear direction and how to apply the practices and learnings from others' journeys. And we want to create a simple format for you to get information to apply in your life to improve it, especially if you're the youth of tomorrow or an adult budding and growing and still trying to improve. I hope I can provide that for you today. And today we have Mike Paolini, as you can see, and he's actually a longtime friend of mine, and his story intrigues me because he had to overcome instant gratification in one of the most toughest times during COVID. And the reason I think instant gratification is such a topic to discuss, especially nowadays, is because I have some stats here for you I'd like to share. George Washington University found that from 2003 to 2011, ADHD cases increased by 43%. Also, an MIT study found that viewers about have a 2-second attention span before they'll close a video at a very increased rate. And not only that, that kind of couples into our desire to feel happier before we actually receive something. There's studies to show that 8 weeks before a vacation, you're at your happiest. So we're just constantly trying to get this buyer's high that we get before we even buy something. And our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and we expect things faster. And Mike found a way to overcome this through his journey. And Mike, so tell me a little bit about how you've been dealing with the crazy current circumstances and how you've been coming over something like instant gratification.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you said it, instant gratification that has just become, it's a part of our culture now, you know what I mean? Like everyone relies on it. Things happen so quickly. You mentioned the video, your attention span. You can order something from China, it's at your front door in 12 hours. So we're actually programmed right now to expect instant gratification. And in my industry, so my main gig, as you know, is I'm a real estate agent, right? And if there's one industry I can think of that does not have instant gratification kind of built into the core of the industry, it's real estate. I mean, it will take me a couple months to a year to get a client. We might be looking at houses for 2-3+ months, and then we, make an offer on a house, hopefully get it, and then that house takes another 2 or 3 months to close, and then 2 to 6 weeks after that, I get paid for that. So, not that it's all about the money, but that thrill of getting a deal and the payment portion of the job can sometimes be like a year after the initial start of that client, of that process, right? So in real estate, instant gratification is tough to come by when you think of the big wins. So I mean, one thing that I do is I get through it with the little wins. So that's one thing I've kind of taught myself to do. And first of all, I'm no expert on this subject by any means. I'm just taking my experiences and kind of ran with them, and I found stuff that works for me, and it seems to work for other people as well. So again, no expert, but it's logical thinking and practices that can make a big difference. So I was saying I look for little wins. If I'm only looking for that big win, that big instant gratification of like making a sale, for example, I'm going to get depressed, man, because it could be weeks, months, years before that happens for a specific client. In real estate, it ebbs and flows, of course, right? So I'll have months where I get five sales, and I'll have a month where I don't get any. So I combat that by looking at daily little wins. So instead of saying I sold a house or I didn't sell a house, it's more of like I had a really good meeting with that client, or we I learned something about that client that's going to save me time. I'm not going to look for houses that are within this criteria anymore because I now know that they are not interested in that. And I consider all those things wins. And it's you said it, it's a mindset thing, right? It's you have to shift your paradigm a little bit to look at things differently and start seeing those little wins as your big wins. And people get off on instant gratification, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't you want to create that for yourself on a more consistent basis, but in a healthier way, right? In a positive way. If you're reinforcing yourself and doing big wins, and little wins every day, your mood's going to increase. You're going to get that endorphin rush of getting that mini gratification. So it's something that I'm really starting to focus on.
Man, I really love that. It is mindset, and it's like you're training yourself to feel the way you want to feel to sustain you for that next win, so you can get the results you want. And people are, I think, so bogged down by not getting what they want that they don't do anything. And I think a big part of mindset is often a statement, and a statement can be an affirmation, right? And we spoke about it before. And something I love about your affirmations is they're very practical and pragmatic. You can use affirmations, I think, that are very eccentric, but it doesn't always help you when you're in a crummy situation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
100%. Yeah. So, I mean, if you were to ask me, if you were to ask Mike 2 years ago about affirmations, he would have laughed in your face. Like it's not something that I thought would help or that would make a difference in my mindset, my life, my productivity, etc. But
Yeah.
I was basically forced into them within my real estate team. We say them out loud every week, um, and I got into the routine of doing it in my personal time. And hey, can I pinpoint my success or my mindset to affirmations? Definitely not, but do they help? I would say they're definitely a little piece of the puzzle for sure. So, to your point, I mean, affirmations are so personal, right? So you have to find what works for you, what gets you up in the morning, what gets you motivated. The big thing with affirmations is you have to act on them. If you just say them and don't do anything about it, you're not going to improve. You might digress actually. So just make sure whatever you're saying resonates with you and that you're actually applying what you're saying into your everyday life. So two that I typically use, the two big ones are my growth is undeniable and my success is inevitable. So it really focuses on growth. Kind of what we talked about, right? Little wins. So just growing and learning a little bit every day. I don't have to be perfect, but my growth is undeniable. Like I'm growing, you can't take that away from me. And
I
my
concur,
success,
man. I see it.
there
I
you
can
go,
see it.
right?
You're talking to you quite a bit now, so yeah, it's undeniable for sure, man.
Appreciate that. So that's a good one I like to use and I always make sure the day I say that, my mind shifts to growth. I'm always looking at opportunities to learn something, um, to fail even. Um, so so you have to apply it, like I said. Another one I often say, probably my biggest one, is if you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same results. And that, again, it's just a small affirmation, but it triggers that switch in my brain to say, hey, I didn't hit my goals or I'm not happy. Then why am I doing the same thing? Why am I waking up at the same time? Why am I doing the same routine? Why am I using the same scripts, what I'm calling people or interacting with people? If I'm going to keep doing that same thing, I'm going to get the same results. So on those days, I'm really focused on improving and changing my habits a little bit more in a positive way, obviously.
Yeah, amen to that, brother. I mean, you gave a nice framework. It's quite simple, right? It's like you have your mindset and the way you think, and the way you think is coupled by realistic things that you can hold on to that are anchors that take you through your day to get those little wins, to get your much larger wins. And they say if you don't have goals and if you don't write them down, your dreams are just dreams. I think Denzel Washington said that in a video I saw recently. So like, do you do some kind of journaling or something where you can visually see your growth? Because I can look at my little wins, but I find if I don't write them down, it's hard. Like, do you have a process for journaling or keeping track of all this stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So first off, I'll digress a bit. I want to go quickly back to the big wins and little wins, and it just puts things in perspective for whoever's listening, right? And uh, it's a study. You mentioned a few, but this one really hits home with me
Mhm.
when I'm talking about little wins. It connects so well with the study that showed, I think it's Berkeley, that um, in terms of the psychological effect of donating money, you will get the exact same amount of pleasure and it will last the exact same amount of time whether you donate $25 or $100,000. So the rush, the happiness, and endorphins you feel from donating those two amounts of money is actually the same, which is just wild. And it actually lasts the same amount. Like you'll feel good, call it for a couple days, and that ties in really well with the big win, small wins. The small wins, they almost have the same effect as the big wins. Like I just made a sale. I was telling you, I made a sale like 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'm over it. Like I'm over it. Great. I'm happy about it, but I'm over it. And it was probably the same feeling and length of time that I did from, teaching my dog a new trick, right? So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about these things. Small wins are small, but they actually can probably have the same effect on your mental state. But I digress. Going back to journaling and stuff, everybody's different. I'm one of those guys who has to write everything down. So even like in university, I was the only one. Everyone was on their laptops. I was the only one writing notes by hand still. It's just the way my brain works.
Weirdo, man. You're a weirdo, man.
I'm a fucking weirdo. I know.
I'm joking.
But so journaling is a big one for me. It helps one because I actually write it down, which is a method that I found just works very well with my mind and my personality. Like I just remember and I act on things better if I write them down and I can visually see them. I actually have my journal here because I thought this was going to come up. So I'll say the purpose of my journal is to make sure that I'm staying on track of my goals. I'm not going to get into my obviously my goals on this podcast, but journaling is really good because it keeps you on track. And to your point, when you don't think you made progress or when you're having a shitty day where you don't think you got anything accomplished,
Mhm.
journaling will actually flip that on its head and probably make you realize the opposite. So can I tell you a little bit about like the way my journal works? I think they're all relatively similar.
Yeah. I feel like the people out there journal and they're always looking for ways to improve it. And I think people say, I journal, I'm getting these results. I think if you have something that's working for you, like please share it, man. I think it'd really help people out.
I appreciate it. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this, but you can cut it if not. I use this one. It's called the High Performance Strategic Journal. That's a mouthful. And it's 13 weeks at a time, all right? So you'll get 4 of these a year. The reason that they do it in 3 months is because if you're looking at anything on a yearly basis, you're not going to stay on track. It's better to break down your goals into smaller chunks. It's like New Year's resolutions, right? Like a ridiculous amount of them fail every single year, like a ridiculously high percentage of them fail every year. And if you were to just chunk them down into smaller portions, they're much more achievable. So this strategic journal is 13 weeks. So I do like one a quarter. And every day you can put your schedule and your to-do list. I'll do that often, but I also rely on my Google Calendar. So I do less of the left side, and the right side of the book is kind of like the bread and butter. All right. So, and again, 2 years ago, Mike would have laughed at you for doing this stuff, but I'm telling you, man, it works and it keeps me on track. All right. So you start off with an AM gratitude list. What are you grateful for? It could be small, it could be big. It could be family, or it could be that you had a good sleep. It could be anything. Just 3 things that you're grateful for, which I find forces you to start the day on a positive note. You're not waking up, oh shit, it's 6 in the morning or 8 in the morning, whenever you wake up, like I had a bad sleep, I just want to go back to bed. You start with what you're grateful for, and it just instantly changes your attitude. Then you go into daily goals. Again, these can be anything. What do you want to achieve that day? Do you want to get a new client? Do you want to like reconnect with an old friend? Do you want to get a certain job done at work that you might have been putting off? And with those is that you want to try to achieve your daily goals by 11 a.m. If, or at least start on them by 11, the likelihood of you achieving your goals, if you start them after 11 a.m., decreases exponentially. I don't know the number, but I've seen a graph on this, and if it's after 11, you haven't started the daily goals, guess what? It's probably going to be, I'll do it tomorrow. Rip the Band-Aid, man. You got to rip the Band-Aid.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That's good to know.
Yeah. So
That's
I
huge.
would try to, you don't have to finish the goals, but at least like start it. Whether it's sending that email or sending that text or reading that first couple pages of the book. And if that was your goal, to read a chapter, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, sure.
then you have today's targets, which is kind of like daily goals. So if a goal was reconnect with friends today, the target would just be like reconnect, quantify it, right? Like reconnect with 4 old high school friends for lunch in the next month. You just kind of quantify it. And then you have a PM gratitude list. So again, you're going to end, I usually do this at the end of the workday, not the end of the night, because I forget about it. PM gratitude list, you end your day on positive note as well. You could have had a shit day, you could have had a bad day. But if you're forced to pull out 3 things that you're grateful for, it's going to change your mood. My favorite one is lessons learned today. I think you've like realized from talking to me, being my friends, I'm so much about like learning and growth. The lessons learned today is huge. Similar reason as the gratitude in the PM. It's like you can go through a day and be like, I did nothing today, and the next one's daily wins. So this whole side is like, it's that page. That side of the page is like for those days where like I didn't do anything today, I didn't learn anything, I didn't accomplish any of my goals, life sucks, etc. But you're forced to write out what you learned, what you're grateful for, and a minimum of 3 daily wins. If you're forced to do that every single day, I promise you your mindset is going to change slowly over time. And guys, you're not going to be able to do this yourselves. All right? You need a group of people that are positive influences on you. You have to get an accountability partner. You know, I have a couple. We hold each other accountable. We know each other's goals, and we make sure that we're on track to hit them. And if we're not, we ask how we can help to get them back on track. All right? So find that person. It could be your best friend, somebody you're comfortable with, sharing your goals, and also making sure you help them stay on top of theirs. Find that person and make sure you're calling them, texting them every single day to make sure that you both are on the way to achieving those daily goals that you journal about.
Bars. Spitting bars, Mike.
There you go.
And Mike, it's got me thinking. You mentioned you weren't always so positive, and I guess you know what it feels like to be more negative. How has these little positive reinforcements helped you? Like, what is the difference you've noticed?
Yeah, I think everybody's like nowadays, everybody's initial instinct is to take out the negative of the situation, right? You're always thinking like, what's the worst that can happen? And the journaling obviously helps because the journaling forces you to switch that negative to a positive mindset when you're forced to write down your gratitude, your lesson learned, your daily wins. So it has a huge effect, man. Like there's this study. I just got a puppy, all right, and I've learned that positive reinforcement works better on training puppies than negative reinforcement. All right. So it's the same in humans that you'll not only learn better and do better in life or in training or whatever when given positive reinforcement, that lesson is also that lesson also lasts longer. Like you're less likely to forget about that lesson than if it was negative reinforcement. To me, that's kind of counterintuitive, but this is the study, which I think you know a little bit more about. But like,
Yeah.
I would think, hey, if I like hit my dog, he would remember that, right, and not do it ever again. But it's actually showing the opposite. It's saying, hey, if I give him that treat, it's positive, it's instant gratification, which is kind of the whole theme of this podcast. It's going to work better, and he'll succeed. Dude, that's a 10-week-old puppy. It's the same with humans.
Dude, that's brilliant. Yeah, and I think we mentioned talking about the study I think a few days ago. Rooney and Cohen. If anybody wants to research that on Google, just type that in and write the study, or just general dogs or puppy study, and it should pop up. But yeah, it seems like the thing you get from social media, that, oh, somebody liked my photo, or, oh, look at this cool thing I'm seeing somebody do, you're turning that into your life through mindset, through journaling, through the way you think. It's like you're constantly getting this social dilemma. It's like the way the brain goes off. You basically made your whole life a realistic social media party where you're getting all these kind of endorphins, or I don't know how to put it, but you know what I'm trying. It's like
Yeah,
people go on
100%.
social media to get the fix that you get through living. And anyway, so now we have, the way you think, the way you actively talk to yourself, how you position your day to set your goals. And imagine, is there a visualization component to that real quick? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, because the reason I say that is because right now you're in real estate. There was no inventory, no way people were making money during COVID. In Toronto, there was about 26 houses up for sale and hundreds of realtors. And, you're overcoming it right now. And, at one point, Tony Hawk, people thought he couldn't do the 900, and he did. You have Conor McGregor, who was a two-way division champion in two different weight classes. Nobody thought that was possible, and he did it. Then Daniel Cormier did it after. And there wasn't many successful people. People are dropping their licenses from what I was hearing in real estate. Like, how did you overcome not only not getting any deals immediately and not seeing people succeed, but a market that was just dead and full of fear?
Yeah, so it's obviously a combination of the mindset and visualization. So I probably started in real estate full time at the worst possible time. It was like March or April. So
Hmm.
right when everything shut down, right?
Yeah.
So my mindset going into that, I'll get to the visualization in just like 30 seconds. My mindset going into that, and this was actually, I did go into it with a negative mindset, but luckily I had a couple good mentors and friends in the industry that helped me switch that. And it was going into and thinking, hey, people have to buy houses, people have to sell houses. Like that's a fact of life. People get divorces, people can't, people die, people have to move out, people can't afford houses, people are still getting promotions, and people are still winning the lottery. So people are buying houses. Why wouldn't I be the one to sell them that house? So there's going to be successful agents throughout this whole pandemic. I'm going to be one of those. And then that's where the visualization kicks. First, it's the mindset, right? It's like, I will, and the affirmations,
Yeah.
I will be one of those successful agents. And then you visualize it. You picture yourself signing contracts. You picture yourself going on really good showings. You picture, a thank you card that a buyer sends to you after getting them a house in a very difficult market, right? You start to visualize that, and if you don't see what I've kind of done in the last few seconds is all of these tips and tricks, they come together as a whole, right? Yeah, you can probably do some of them individually and get results, but when you pair up the journaling with the positive reinforcement and the little wins and the visualization and the mindset shifts and all that kind of stuff, it just kind of compounds and creates for much bigger success and progress.
Dude, I love what you're saying too, because I mean, often people like to look at things linearly, right? And what you're saying is a process, but they all happen together. And the more I look into different theories of how life works, life isn't linear. It's complex and it's chaotic, and things happen all at once. And you have to take all these variables and put them in your life, because if you're just going to do one of them, or one of them when you want to, you're not going to get the effects that you're getting today. And I just wanted to conclude. We spoke about this. Mike was telling me about the 4-minute mile and the guy who visualized that. Nobody thought it was possible. And recently, I hope I say his name right, um, Eliud Kipchoge ran a marathon in under 2 hours. Obviously, there are certain variables they put in place to help him do that, but I mean, nobody thought that was possible. And he was about 20 seconds away not too long ago, and he came back and did it. And I think even some scientists try to disprove it. So, I mean, it just goes to show, I'm sure he had a similar regimen to you, Mike, and that's why earlier you're quite modest, but I'm telling you, you have the same mindset and things that make people like MJ great, astronauts fly to the moon, and it's often simple things you can do tomorrow, today, and that's what we're all about here at Empowered Life Hacks, is you don't got to buy a book and read it for 20 hours to figure out what you got to do tomorrow to change your life. And I encourage you people to add Mike. He's a great guy. He's been a friend of mine for a while, and he'll sort you out if you have any questions.
So thanks.
Dude, you've been awesome, man. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, rock on.
Catch you around, man.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to our first episode of our talk series over here at Empowered Life Hacks. We really are appreciative for your time and know that there's a million different things you can be doing, and you chose to spend it with us. We actually value and appreciate your time so much that there's a decent-sized team behind the scenes working to create actionable tips and digestible ways for you. So each episode is going to come with its own resource page on our website, empoweredlifehacks.com. So if you've subscribed, you get a lot of emails of this stuff, but if you go on our resource page, you'll have access to worksheets to help you for the next 2 weeks. You'll have little wallpapers for the back of your phone to keep you more mindful. You'll have all the tips the speaker spoke about and timestamps to jump to your favorite part of the episode. Even little Spotify plug in there so you can run, go for a jog, and listen to the episode all over again. And if you do all this primed work for next week, we actually have Alex Hartman coming in to talking about how he uses role-playing and storytelling to make boring things more fun, hence overcoming instant gratification once again. So looking forward to be your accountability buddy. If you follow us on all our social media handles, you'll get a glimpse of how I'm trying to overcome these things, and call BS if it's not working and say yay if it is. So looking forward to seeing you on empoweredlifehacks.com. Please subscribe, and looking forward to seeing you on all our social media handles and joining us on this journey.